Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren,
And I'm Lisa.
and this is your
Behavior tip of the week.
Our topic for today is self-regulation versus co-regulation.
Such an important topic. I feel like self-regulation is a huge buzzword
For sure.
these days. I probably heard it multiple times this week even. So we really just want to make sure that you guys understand the difference between self-regulation and co-regulation and when your students might be ready for self-regulation.
All right, so first let's talk about what is regulation. This is the ability for your students and us as adults, right, to tolerate and adapt to changes in the environment. So when you're thinking about your students, they're regulated when they're participating in class. They're following your directions. They're able to manage distractions that may be going on in the classroom and make positive choices. They're also able to accept directions.
And a dysregulated person is having a stress response to their difficulty with tolerating and adapting to changes in the environment. So you may see dysregulated students who are impulsive, argumentative, withdrawn, maybe non-compliant, or have emotional outbursts. All of these things are indicators to you that they are dysregulated in some way.
So there's three parts when we're thinking about regulation, and we need to keep each of these components in mind. So there's the physical regulation, and we're identifying warning signs, starting to see those things that might help me notice my student is starting to become dysregulated, and teaching them some strategies for calming their bodies. There's also emotional dysregulation or emotional regulation, right? And are they able to identify how they're feeling in a situation and then express those feelings in a productive way? And then there's also cognitive regulation, and that talks about their thoughts, their organization, their planning. Sometimes in education, we call that our executive functioning, right? But all of those pieces really come together to make full regulation for our students.
So this is what we really want to get at today. There are, I don't want to call them levels, but really three parts in the development of our regulation skills as human beings. And we are going to post a video that actually goes through this. It's an awesome video that we don't have time for in this behavior tip, but we will post the link to it. And that's where we got this visual from. And you really should take an opportunity to watch it because it is excellent. And it goes through a lot more in detail than what we're going to talk about now. But when we are first born, we need people in our life to help us with external regulation. So you see the person holding the baby, and that is somebody else is helping to meet your needs and get you regulated. They're doing it for you. They're providing what you need in order to get regulated. And as we grow up, we go into this stage of co-regulation. And this is where we need somebody to come alongside us and help us develop those skills for regulation, the skills for identifying our emotions, those cognitive processes that Lauren just talked about, all of those things coming together. We need to be taught in context of situations that are happening when we're dysregulated, and also in teaching opportunities when we're calm and stable, right? And so the pairing of that teaching and that co-regulation over and over and over again brings us to the point where we're able to self-regulate. And you can see the person remembering the co-regulation. Right. And that's where I'm then internalizing the things that I have learned through co-regulation so that I'm able to do it on my own. So I think where we kind of misstep a little bit as educators is really trying to take students to self-regulation when they have not had enough opportunities and pairings of people who are helping them to co-regulate. Yeah. And so when we're asking students and we're writing goals for them to improve their self-regulation skills, I think we first need to consider, are they ready for that developmentally?
Absolutely. And I don't want you guys to think about that just as an age level, right? Like not all of our kids by third grade or by fifth grade or by middle school are going to have those strategies. You may still, even in a secondary setting, have students who have not had enough of those co-regulating experiences to be ready to self-regulate. So I don't think it's an age thing. It's more of, how many experiences do they have? what other things have impacted that for sure.
And if you think about it from a trauma lens, right, students who have experienced a lot of trauma and difficulty in their home life may have had very limited experience, or positive experiences, I should say, with co-regulating. And that's going to impact when they really are able to get to that self-regulation phase.
Absolutely. So when we talk about co-regulating, what are some things I can do? How can I assist a student through this? This is just a few of many things that you can do with your students. It talks about setting the scene, maybe using lighting as a cue. So if you see energy getting high, bring the lighting down, give them the ability to see, okay, when it gets a little bit lighter, calmer, quieter, right? Also matching their volume and tone. So if you see a situation starting to escalate, maybe you're going to drop your voice level a little bit so they see, okay, I don't need to be as escalated. Maybe I don't need to be as loud in this situation, but I can kind of bring that down. This one's a huge one, guys. It's checking your physical presence. So getting on their level and not trying to have that power struggle where I'm talking over you or I'm projecting right at you, right? But kind of having that equal. We're equals in this situation. So maybe that's sitting down on a chair next to them. Maybe it's coming up and approaching them, right? Also using that reflective language. So naming the emotions that you see your students are expressing, whether they're saying them or not, right? So if a student's screaming, I can tell you're really upset right now. Students crying, it looks like you're really sad, right? Helping them to see that and let them know that you're noticing those things that they're feeling. And then also prompt them for strategies and choices. Remind them of supports or strategies that are available to them. And guys, the most important thing with this is you have to teach them those things ahead of time, right? So if I've taught them that they can go to the calm corner in my classroom, or I've taught them that they can take deep breaths, then when we get into these situations and I'm trying to help them co-regulate, I can remind them, hey, don't forget, these are the strategies that are available to you.
All great ideas and good things to come back to.
For sure.
Okay, so we thought this was a really good visual to include to kind of help you understand the balance of self-regulation and co-regulation and how that changes over time. So you can see in the top buckets what would be considered typical development anywhere from infant all the way to young adult, and how as we get older, we're able to, our bucket's more full of self-regulation strategies from all of those internalized things that we remember through co-regulation that has happened over time in stages of development. Okay. And then this particular visual mentions ADHD, but you can replace this with any type of challenge that your students may have. We mentioned maybe those things are related to trauma. Maybe those are related to impacts of other disabilities like autism or learning disabilities or even language impairments or anything like that, right? And then we have things, of course, like ADHD or, so many different things that can impact kids. But what you can see is the difference in the buckets, right? And how much more time and how much more emphasis there needs to be on that co-regulation before we can expect them to be able to effectively self-regulate.
Absolutely. And then thinking about those things that Lisa listed, and what about our students that have multiple, right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's a student with autism who also has experienced trauma. Maybe it's a student with a learning disability who also, has experienced some things in their life that might make it difficult, or may also have a medical diagnosis of ADHD, right? So just thinking about that and how much more their bucket would need support and need your emotional co-regulation. So that childhood and adolescent is a lot of what we're spending our time, supporting our students, and just remembering that there's still a lot of co-regulation needed there. And like Lisa said, sometimes we can't expect them to jump right into that self-regulation.
So we hope this was valuable to you and that you'll consider these things as you're working with your kids.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.